Hello, YouTube. It is uh, October. I'm trying to darn gonna roll them up back, y'all. November 18th, 2019. And this time we're here with a different candidate. Y'all know usually I'm here to talk about Marion Williamson, Andrew Yang, etc. We done a couple of Elizabeth Warrens, but unfortunately it hasn't been good for her when I've done commentary on her. But we're gonna keep it fair. I decided I'm gonna actually open up you know, the commentary as far as doing the political videos to other candidates that I may not have looked at as much. So today we're actually going to look at Tulsi Gabbard's platform, and I'm glad that I did this because I took the time to actually look at her platform last night before jumping on camera. Because what I used to do is y'all would get my raw reaction, but now I said it's better for me to just look at it beforehand. And I'm glad I did that for a number of reasons because she actually has a very long platform. She has 42 key points. And I learned my lesson from Andrew Yang's videos. Y'all know anybody who watches me for the Andrew Yang video series on his platform, his thing was set up like a phone book. And it's like I went in order like this, and by the time I tried to get to finishing his, he done changed everything all over, and I didn't save everything down on paper, so it threw me off. I had to do a lot from memory. So what I did this time was I'm not going to go in order. For one main reason is I don't want to sound all over the place. Like I don't want to go from this point, burn pits, the finance reform, civil liberties, climate change. Like those are four totally different, uh, subject matters. Even though it's going in order, it's not going in order of the subject of which they're in, like domestic violence issues. But then you jump to drinking water and watershed. So what I did was I took the time to write all her policies down and organize them in order of which they all group. So like domestic issues, we would talk about that in addition to sex trafficking and sexual assault. Like we would jump and go into that versus, going in order. So I hope that's better. Y'all tell me if that's a better setup. In addition to the fact that there will, like normal, will be timestamps down below. So if you want to jump to any particular section, you can do that as well. So now that we got that intro out the way, let's get into some background about Tulsi Gabbard. So Tulsi Gabbard is a candidate for the President of the United States, elected to Congress 4 times with over 70% of the vote. Oh, that's actually substantial margins. Over 16 years of public service, survived 2 tours of duty in the Middle East, Iraq, and Kuwait, and she got a lot of foreign policy surrounding that area as well. We'll get into that in another video. We're not going to talk on the foreign policies today on this one, but let me see. Currently serves as Major in Army National Guard, House Foreign Affairs Committee. Okay, that's why she's so strong in foreign affairs, because her policies, she has the most foreign in-depth policy that I've seen in intricate detail. Marion Williamson has a foreign policy as well, especially on peace building and all of that. But Tulsi Gabbard actually has the policies that you can tell that it's from more empathetic point of view. Like she can relate to the experience by actually seeing the atrocity versus any other candidate that has not actually been across the country. They can sympathize, but it's a difference when you can actually directly empathize. You've actually seen the pain and struggle. And it also adds another thing that she's a brown skinned woman. I don't know if she's Pacific Islander, or I should have took the time to research her. It's something going on there. I don't know if she's Native American, but I would think they would highlight if we was having a potential first Native American president, other than Elizabeth Warren. I know that's the running joke y'all like to say with Elizabeth, but if we was actually having a real Native American running, I would think they would have highlighted if she was Native. So I think she's like, I don't know, I think she might be Pacific Islander. She is from Hawaii. House Armed Service Committee, Emerging Threats and Capitalist Committee, Readiness Subcommittee, elected to Honolulu City Council in 2010, elected to Hawaii State Legislature at the age of 21. Okay, she got right into it, honey. Right on early, honey. Senate Legislator aide to Han Daniel Akako. Y'all know Hawaiians speak Spanish and I don't, so excuse my Spanish over there, y'all. In 2007, Tulsi graduated from the Accelerated Office Candidate School at the Alabama Military Academy. Okay, now I do speak country, so that's more up my alley. Shout out to my Alabamians out there, honey. Where she was the first woman to finish as the Distinguished Honor Graduate in the Academy's 50-year history. Okay, come on through, Miss Tulsi, baby. Come on through, woman power. In 2013, Tulsi received the JFK New Frontier Award created by the John F. Kennedy Library Foundation and the Institute of Politics at Harvard. Okay, Miss Well-educated university to honor Americans under the age of 40 who are changing their communities and the country with their community to public service. It goes on from one of the first two female combat veterans ever elected to Congress. Come on. Age 37 U.S. citizen. So she is the youngest candidate that is running, I believe, alongside Pete Buttigieg. They are the youngest candidates running for president. Founded Healthy Hawaii Coalition as a teenager. Like I said, she got started early. Read more about Tulsi's background and experience. Okay, unfortunately, we don't got enough time. Endorsements, Progressive Democrats of America, Bernie Sanders. That's interesting. Obviously, it's not the endorsement for president, so maybe this was throughout her other, many accomplishments. Because I highly doubt a presidential candidate is endorsing another presidential candidate, honey. Sierra Club Ocean Champions, Healthcare for All Hawaii, Vote Vets, Equality Hawaii, Human Rights Campaign, End Sentences United, and the list goes on and on. Planned Parenthood, Our Revolution Hawaii. Now, this what confuses me is because this is on her presidential platform, and it gives the connotation that Bernie Sanders is endorsing her, which I do not see Bernie endorsing somebody other than himself. Like, that would be a major conflict of interest. So they need to clarify that off the gate in that, because that leads people to think that Bernie Sanders is endorsing her for president, because this is her presidential platform. It doesn't specify that Bernie Sanders supported her in becoming a senator. Like, they need to be more specific with that. Then it got some interview links. And then it goes into Tulsi is a PAC-free candidate who supports every progressive issue and has sponsored and co-sponsored numerous legislation for progressive causes. Tulsi endorsed by Our Revolution and Our Revolutionary Hawaii. She also a fellow of Sanders Institute and a strong progressive. Okay, so she is very closely linked to Sanders. And it's like, this is interesting because how do you if you are a protege of Sanders, how do you go by really differentiating yourself from Sanders in the presidential campaign? I didn't even know this connection of her to Senator Bernie Sanders, so this is really going to be interesting. And, I know Elizabeth Warren and Marion Williamson, they also link on to Bernie Sanders as well, but they do far better at presenting different policies that we're going to get into, because she does bring some things up. So it'd be interesting to see how she match up against, her idol Bernie Sanders in comparison to people who's also been linked to him but have been more successful on differentiating themselves, such as Elizabeth Warren and Marion Williamson. So then it goes on to say Tulsi's integrity, leadership, and willingness to reach across party lines has led to support from all sides of the political spectrum. Tulsi has a progressive Democrat lifetime rating of over 90% and votes with Democrats 90% of the time. The other 10% of bills were not bills that put people's first. Tulsi is one of a handful of true progressives in Congress. She recently made the list of only a dozen Congress members for her passionate advocacy for progressive change. Okay, come on through, Miss Tulsi. Medicare for All, DACA Equality Act, Offshore Medicare for All, Sustainable Energy, Securing Our Elections. Like I said, she got 42 of them in all, and we're going to go through 4 of them today. So that is Tulsi Gabbard in a nutshell. Now we're going to go back to the issues and go to the first four of her points today. So we're going to go over burn pits, civil liberties, education policies. Like I said, I did my best to separate the climate issues into their own category and so forth. I got 7 different sections in all, including a whole separate issue on LGBT, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare like 6 of the candidates' issues on LGBT. I'm going to compare Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, Marion Williamson, Cory Booker, and a couple others on what they stand on LGBT issues. And then I'm going to do another one on black issues and another one on, several myriad of issues such as their infrastructures, foreign policies, where they stand out on DACA and, immigration reform as well. But going into burn pits. So 11 minutes in, we're finally starting off with the first one. So Tulsi has led efforts to help service members who have been exposed to burn pits while on active duty. Along with their families, Tulsi has introduced and co-sponsored legislation to assist those who have been affected and also serve as a member of the Congressional Burn Pit Caucus. Over 140,000 service members and veterans have reported exposure to burn pits and toxic airborne chemicals. Exposure to burn pits can produce serious and potentially life-threatening health effects, including neurological disorders, rare forms of cancer, lung diseases, and more, triggering some to call the crisis the Agent Orange of the post-9/11 generation. Honey, very darn ironic they call it Agent Orange, honey, because look who we dealing with in office right now. Boom, boom, boom. But, let's move it on. So Tulsi introduced H.R. 5671, Burn Pits Accountability Act, a bipartisan bill to evaluate exposure to open burn pits and toxic airborne chemicals and begin the process of assuring proper care and services for the nation's service members and veterans. It goes on to say Tulsi is an original co-sponsor of H.R. 6027, Family Member Access to Burn Pit Registry Act, which will allow family members to register in the Burn Pit Registry on behalf of a deceased service member. Then she has several statement videos to add to that. So I implore y'all to actually go to the site to look at those links. This is just to help y'all get a good idea of what her policy is about, because I figure in this day and age of modern day technology, people actually like to see the policies and hear an interpretation of it by somebody such as myself, even if I'm not a supporter of the candidate, but you would still like to hear the policies versus trying to look at it yourself, because like I said, if you had to look at it yourself and go in order, it would drive you crazy. So that's why you got myself trying to make it all organized for you. You will have the timestamps, like I said, down below, where you can jump to specific policies that interest you the most in regards to any candidate, whether it's, Tulsi Gabbard, Elizabeth Warren, and so forth. So next thing we're going to go to is civil liberties. So Tulsi Gabbard on civil liberties. Tulsi has spoken strongly against the unconstitutional sharing of American communications. Tulsi, I firmly believe that a strong national defense and the protection of our civil liberties are equally important and compatible. Rep Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi is an original member of the bipartisan Fourth Amendment caucus to protect the privacy and security of Americans in the digital age. Our laws regarding freedom, privacy, and civil liberties have not kept up with the rapid expansion of technology in today's digital age, said a rep for Tulsi Gabbard. I look forward to working with the bipartisan coalition United States behind the caucus to protect and strengthen the Fourth Amendment rights and grant and granted to each and every American under our Constitution. And those are those legislation policies right here from HR 3178, HR 699, Electronic Communications Privacy Amendment Act, HR 4124, HR 2588, and also Tulsi voted against legislation to reauthorize the warrantless collection of American calls, emails, texts, and other communications under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And then she got several other statement videos as well. Some going all the way back to 2001. So she has remained consistent on her issues. Some other candidates, they can't say the same thing. So now moving on to education policies. Tulsi Gabbard on education policies. Key points: Tulsi has fought for education on many levels, including free college, improving flexibility and support for teachers in education, funding for Native Hawaiian education programs, funding for Hawaii schools. I think it's safe to say she's going to automatically win over the majority. She seemed favorable. I'm going to say this with regards to Hawaii. If she consistently have a 90% turnout on Hawaii, I think it's safe to say that Hawaii is in the bag for her. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that many, electoral votes. I think they only have like 2 or 3 in comparison to like Texas that has the largest. So let's hope that her policies, expand beyond the island of Hawaii, the 50th state, and also relates to the actual states that is in North America. And once again, those are legislations that she has put forth. HR 218, Tulsi Gabbard introduced Extend and Improve GI Bill. Harry W. Comey Veterans Education Assistance Act of 2017 goes into further about HR 1177, Every Student Succeeds Act. HR 895, Native Hawaiian Education Act. Like I said, she got Hawaii in the bag, honey. HR 1880, College for All Act, which would eliminate tuition and fees at 4-year public colleges and universities for families that make up to $125,000 a year, and would make community college tuition fee-free for everyone. See, my only problem is, wouldn't this eliminate? I always say I have the fear that community colleges will shut down if people have the option to just go straight to university for free for 4 years, because it eliminates the need, because the community colleges are there as a way to just get the associates without having to go to the university. But if you're giving people the freeness up to 4 years, they could bypass the the community college altogether and go straight to the university. So I would love for them to clarify more on that for me. Now, maybe if it's because of the university still impose the board fees and stuff. Like some universities, they still want their freshmen on colleges versus community colleges. You don't have to deal with that. So if that's the only thing, maybe I can see some credence in also extending it to 4-year colleges. I just don't know on that. I'm still 50-50 on extending it to 4-year colleges. I think people would just rather have their loans forgiven, the ones that's out of school. Because y'all keep talking about making it Generation Z's and everybody that's going to college now tuition free, but we want our debts forgiven. That's what most people really want. Like, this is also good too, but extending it to universities, like I said, I always fear that they might close community colleges as a result, because it's like, what would be the point then? And then also, how would they be paid as well? We ain't talking about the pay for them, because the thing is, when it comes to teacher pay, that is talking about K-12 education. When they talk about raising the minimum teacher pay to $60,000 a year, they are not talking about your professors. And there's a difference between professors and teachers. Your professors are your college educators from your technical community colleges, your trade schools, and your universities. So I'm trying to figure out with the free colleges, how is the community college professors getting paid? Because you're not guaranteeing them $60,000. The way that I'm seeing it is y'all keep talking about the K through 12 is going to get the $60,000 minimum. But what about the post-secondary education? So is they included in that minimum $60,000? So I need all of them to answer me that question. And I'm posing this to Tulsi Gabbard as well, because since she's under the protege, since Bill, why I want to say Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, I'm thinking Bill, because all of them B's, Bernie, Bill, Biden, but since she's under Bernie Sanders, and she thinks a lot like Bernie Sanders, I want them to elaborate more on that. On how would community colleges survive, how would you properly fund them, etc. Now, I noticed Cory Booker, but we'll talk about Cory Booker in another video, and several others also mentioned about, paying for the cost of room and board. And we will compare her policies on that, but interesting thought for now. Like I said, we're going to do several videos on comparing, the Democratic presidential candidates, including the new one that's friends with President Barack Obama that just entered the race. So that's everything on Tulsi Gabbard on the education policy. So last but not least for this, and we're going to end it out. So yes, it's actually a short video. For y'all to know me, usually these videos be about 50 minutes to an hour long, but this very first one is actually going to be under a half hour, believe it or not. And that's not because it's Tulsi Gabbard, because trust me, the second one actually is going to be about an hour long, because the second one, it goes into 9 policies. The fourth video that we're going to do on Tulsi Gabbard is going to be definitely about an hour and a half long, because it goes over 13 policies. Like I said, out of 42 policies, I broke it down into 7 video categories. And if she decides to change up the platform, I have it written down so I can still be organized. Unlike, with Andrew Yang, he changed up his platform. I didn't have it written down and it just threw me all off. We would not make that mistake with Tulsi Gabbard. So last issue with Tulsi Gabbard is Glass-Steagall, big banks. So Tulsi has advocated for Wall Street reform throughout her tenure in Congress and believes that we need a banking system that works for every American. Tulsi believes in breaking up the big banks deemed too big to fail. Tulsi has called for criminal investigations of Wall Street executives who gamble with money from American taxpayers. Okay, I'm here for it. H.R. 3711. Which is the 21st Century Glass-Steagall Act of 2013 to help protect Americans from the risky investment behaviors of big banks. H.R. 790, Return to Prudent Banking Act of 2017 to reinstate the consumer protections put in place after the Great Depression and require separation between the commercial and investment banks. And then here's her statement videos that go in more intricate details. See, it makes it bad for people like me because I'm the type of person where I like to read the long paragraphs. And here she has, and I've seen this on Cory Booker's site too. We'll get to him in a video where they redirect you to links. And it's like, I don't got time to be jumping to other pages now. I actually like to read the long paragraphs that Andrew Yang and the Marion Williamsons and the Elizabeth Warrens have on their platforms. I love to read. I grew up reading, so I don't like, having to jump to Twitter and all these other darn secondary and tertiary darn sites, honey. But I'm glad that she's citing her sources, nonetheless to show her consistency. Now, my only thing in regards to banks, honey, she's going to have a hard time trying to break through in comparison to people like Elizabeth Warren, who has shown to be more at the forefront of the issue. Not to say Tulsi Gabbard is laissez-faire on it, but to bring up this point, I don't see her going to be able to out-talk somebody like Elizabeth Warren, who has shown to be way more on the issue. As a senator that has been in the forefront, who has been known to take on Wells Fargo directly, she's going to have a hard time trying to compete with her. And I noticed that's one of her slides right here. Like, she specifically got one dedicated to Wells Fargo, which I think is going to be video number 6 that we're going to talk on. So this is going to be labeled Miscellaneous Policies 1 of Tulsi Gabbard, and an introduction to Tulsi Gabbard. I would name the video something like that. Video number 6 will be Tulsi Gabbard Miscellaneous Policies 2, and then videos 2 through 5 are going to have, you know, dedicated subjects to climate change, foreign and domestic policies, healthcare and women's issues, etc. And then we got, like I said, we're going to group her LGBT, what her stance is on LGBT, which is surprising to me. Like, she really, I was not expecting her on LGBT like that, especially considering her history, but she surprised me on her issues on that one, honey. And it's actually for the favorable. I actually give her a clap on her, and she looks favorable than some other candidates. But like I said, I ain't going to spoil it. I'm going to, you know, compare her LGBT to Cory Booker's, and I might put Kamala in there as well. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, I might put them in there as well. Y'all know how I feel about them too. But to keep it fair, we're going to compare 6 of the leading candidates' topics on LGBT amongst, you know, foreign and domestic issues. But this is going to be a video within itself. So that is it for video 1. Y'all tell me y'all thoughts on Tulsi Gabbard thus far. If you're a Tulsi Gabbard supporter, leave y'all thoughts down below on what does she really do. I shouldn't say what she really do, but try to say something in the comment section that would convince me to really jump on, you know, the Tulsi Gabbard train. As far as stuff that I have not covered yet, like give us a Tulsi Gabbard camp. I have not seen y'all cut up like Andrew Yang. And like I said, this is my first video. Y'all might pop up like the Yang gang do when I do videos on Andrew Yang. And also Marion Williamson camp shouts out all the time in my comment section. So in my private, I get actually more private emails than I do public. I don't know why y'all be afraid to put the comments down in the comment box. Y'all be private inboxing me and not wanting to put it down in the comment section half the time. But to the Tulsi Gabbard crew, please fill us in. So on the actual, let me go to one real quick. So actually on one of these, y'all can feel free to give us some more information about this, you know, to save some people some time. And just give us a good, you know, pitch on why should somebody vote for Tulsi Gabbard. So that is it in a nutshell, y'all. Feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Feel free to share this to Tulsi Gabbard's camp. And like I said, I will be back with y'all with the next 6 videos. Mwah.